Hello, I am Marian Schmitz from the NASA IPAC Extragalactic Database, together with Tracy Chen, also from the NET team. We are presenting the recently updated Best Practices for Data Publication in the Astronomical Literature. This is a collective effort from representatives of the institutions and projects listed here. Many of the co-authors are at this meeting, and we would like to thank them for their contributions. As some of you may know, NED released the first version of the Best Practices document several years ago. It was motivated by the issues we encountered in our data ingestion work. Hence, some of the recommendations there were purely from the perspective of the NED team. Since then, we received a lot of feedback suggesting that we make it more general for the entire astronomical community. We therefore enlisted the help from the community and made substantial updates to the document. We also incorporated some new concepts and provided guidance. The recommendations in the new version were provided with the goals of better representing and supporting science results published in the astronomical literature, enabling better data sharing, improving reproducibility and reusability of data, and helping astronomical archives streamline the extraction, preservation, integration, and cross-linking of published data in the literature. This document is for anyone who's involved in the publication of astronomical nomenclature, data, and metadata. We encourage all authors, referees, journal editors, and publishers to follow these best practices during the preparation, submission, refereeing, and editing stages of the publication process. We are also looking forward to possible endorsement by the IAU and IVOA. This slide and the next two give an overview of the subjects covered in the best practices document. We start with some general guidelines on defining acronyms and abbreviations, providing uncertainties for measurements, presenting the appropriate number of significant figures, and using common units in the discipline. Then we go to the different types of data and discuss the issues and guidance for each type. For example, when presenting nomenclature, authors should always provide complete object names that follow IAU guidelines. When presenting astrometry, we give guidelines for providing coordinate offsets. When presenting photometry, authors should always supply the telescope and instrument information as well as the method used to estimate the photometry, as these are critical in properly understanding the data. Similarly, knowing the time of observation and exposure are essential to understanding the observed properties of astronomical objects. For redshift, indicate if it's spectroscopic or photometric or something else. What is the reference frame and how good is the measurement? When presenting the spectral or morphological classifications for objects, use established ones when available, and define any new ones clearly. We also give suggestions on how to avoid ambiguity when reporting measured orbital parameters. Recommendations are given for tables and figures, the most common forms of data presentation in astronomical publications. We then move on to discuss the long-term archiving and access of data and metadata, how to properly cite the references, facilities, and software in a paper. We recommend the use of DOIs to cite related content if possible, and tag articles with relevant content keywords from the Unified Astronomy Thesaurus. In the next few slides, some specific examples are given that illustrate the few of the recommended best practices. With most of the data nowadays coming from machine computation, there is a tendency to display more significant figures than are justified by the measurement. It's important to always present the appropriate number of significant figures that reflect the precision of their measurements. A right ascension quoted as 131.32134587 degrees implies a positional accuracy of 100,000th of an arcsecond, not obtainable by most modern telescopes. Authors are advised to provide the complete name for an object in their articles. When a truncated object name is published, there could be confusion as to which astronomical object is being referred to. This example shows 3 full SDSS names that all can be represented by the same shortened name of SDSS J 1441 plus 0948. We recommend that authors indicate the magnitude system explicitly when reporting photometry to avoid any possible misinterpretation. When presenting the time of observation, we recommend the use of full Julian dates over modified or offset JD. In particular, the half-day aspect of modified Julian dates is often missed. When redshifts or velocities are presented, one must indicate the method from which the value was obtained. Is it a spectroscopic or photometric measurement, or was it acquired through other methods? It is also useful to include the reference to the model or method used to determine the redshift. To help a broader audience to properly understand the information conveyed in a figure, the graphics should be created with accessibility in mind. For example, colored lines should also use different line styles. Colored symbols should be varied in shape, etc. Giving proper credit where credit is due is as important to the original authors and facilities as it is in the publication. When quoting other people's work, the original reference needs to be cited to give credit where it is due. Use phrases such as, "We adopted a heliocentric redshift of 1.234, Smith et al. 2012, and make sure to include the original reference, Smith et al. 2012, in the bibliography. Clearly indicate what facilities, telescopes, instruments, databases, etc. are used for the acquirement and analysis of the data, and be aware that some acronyms might have multiple meanings. For example, "We use the IARO to observe" is ambiguous and could mean the observations were done at any of the following facilities. A digital object identifier, DOI, provides a persistent and unique identification of objects of any type and should be used to identify datasets, software, and services used to produce results in the publications, if available. Here is an example of a dataset at MAST. The latest version of the Best Practices document is available on the NED website. It has been submitted to archive.org and the Astrophysical Journal Supplement Series. We expect these best practices will evolve as new forms of data are published in the journals, and we welcome feedback from authors, publishers, and all interested parties. We will publish updates to this original publication when enough revisions pile up. We encourage journals and publishers to link this document in the instructions to authors. Our hope is that these guidelines will help improve the quality of the published research record, expedite the integration of data into the databases, and result in long-term preservation and reuse of valuable data, which in turn will enable more science discoveries that would otherwise not be possible or practical. Again, we wish to thank the co-authors and endorsers who helped make this a better and more useful document. Thank you for your attention.